Thank you for having me, and I'm speaking. I think about this industry a little bit as three legs stool. One is obviously environmental, economics, and I speak from the perspective of the reliability. So I operate the grid. I care about making sure that it's reliable, but we do this in a way to facilitate ultimately environmental goals as well as affordability. So thank you, Jason, and I thank you, San Diego Clean Tech, for organizing this important conference and having me as a keynote speaker. I love what I do. As you alluded before, it really provides me a sense of purpose. And this industry is right now the most innovative things that are going on. And it's always fun to talk about it with fellow energy practitioners. As everyone here knows, California is still in the very early stages of this great transformation that is the focus of this conference, to design the clean, reliable, affordable grid of the future. Things are moving and changing very quickly. As you all are aware, we have no shortage of consequential challenges and exciting opportunities for innovation to keep it fitting. If we take a step back for a moment, the task can feel daunting, as you said, daunting task. But the electrical grid managed by the CAISO is a 50 gigawatt bulk power system. Although we're using renewable power all the time, including at times having more renewable energy than there is demand, the California Energy Commission has reported that we still get about 1/3 of our annual electricity from natural gas resources. So we are in the process of taking the power system that drives the fifth largest economy in the world, that has historically and predominantly been driven by thermal energy and fossil fuels, and replacing those energy sources with clean, renewable energy. Here's the rub. It's around variability, intermittency, and uncertainty, and managing it. This helps explain why our 50 gigawatt system needs to be transformed and expanded into what is equivalent to about 120 gigawatts of clean, carbon-free energy by 2045, as required by the California's landmark Senate Bill 100, citing the law by then Governor Jerry Brown in 2018. We need to replace the system with that magnitude of resource because the characteristics of the resources that we generate electricity today are changing. They are not a one-for-one replacement. And the level of replacement will require us to add about 7,000 megawatts or 7 gigawatts of new clean energy power each year for the next 2 decades. It's no longer just base load or firm dispatchable resources that are used to balance the supply and demand, where it used to be that utility was able to flip a switch and turbines would start and energy would be produced when needed. The resources we're adding today are variable, and that's not wrong. Some of it gets produced during the day when we have an abundance amount of solar production and the sun is shining. Some gets produced when the wind is blowing. Some needs to be stored and dispatched in different hours of the day and moving that energy from when we have it to when we need it. But the demand is really when the demand is peaking, and in the situation like in a summer evening, in the net peak period, when the sun is going down. In other words, we need a collective set of resources with the capabilities in excess of just our projected load levels. And even those load levels are changing and going to continue to increase by nearly 60% as a result of the accelerated electrification and the transportation and buildings. This is all part of the state's commitment to play a leadership role in mitigating the impacts of our changing climate. As we do all the heavy lifting with our partners in state government and our partners and stakeholders throughout California and the West, we are also being confronted with increasingly the extreme impacts of the changing climate itself. Impacts that make everything in the energy sector more challenging, from extreme heat, cold, drought, and the threat posed to our infrastructure from wildfires and other natural disasters. Even as I speak today, California is helping the Northwest as it is experiencing the effects of an Arctic plague. And you were asking me a couple of years ago, would we be a net exporter of energy, clean energy? I would say no, but now we're exporting clean energy for others for reliability purposes. We continue to add resources and upgrade our confinement and our technological capability to manage through the variety of its external uncertainties. The state has also stepped up its efforts to better manage, engage with consumers through automated demand response programs, so they use less electricity when the demand of electricity is creating reliability concerns. Consumers are also doing their part in embracing more distributed energy resources, such as electric vehicles, home solar, battery installation, smart appliances, thermostats, and other devices. Through all this change, grid evolution, we have to make sure to keep the lights on and the people we serve. I'd be remiss in not recognizing, being so close to UC San Diego, the work that UC San Diego and under the strategic direction of Byron Washam, who developed microgrids several years ago and is still demonstrating how to enhance reliability, resiliency, economics while achieving the clean energy objectives. So yes, the task can be daunting. We really are in the great transformation together. No one has done this before to this scale. No one has totally remade a geographically expansive power system in little more than a generation. People around the country and around the world are watching to see how California gets it done. And we're getting it done. Our Vice President of System Operations, smart colleague of mine, Didi Sababi, has said this is like trying to do a major repair job in your car, akin to changing the engine, tires, and everything else without stopping because you need to keep it driving to reach your destination safely and on time. I know people do that and vouching for it, and it's true. We have smart, talented grid operators in California ISO managed by Didi, and their job has become more complicated with the evolving grid and climate change. As you can imagine, they undergo extensive training, and increasingly, they rely on advanced computing technology, which are in the process of upgrade. We're in the process of upgrading. And they learn as conditions, resources change. They learn and they adapt. That is the very nature of managing a dynamic and evolving grid like we have here in California. So while the challenges are significant, I'm also happy to report the great progress that is being made. Progress that is helping to make my job easier and allows me to sleep more soundly at night. In calendar year 2023 alone, working with our partners in state government, with the utilities and load-serving entities across the state, the ISO has successfully onboarded about 6,000 megawatts of new power on the grid that was fully operational by the end of last year, and another 1,100 megawatts that's ready to become commercial shortly in the next 6 months. So that 7,000 megawatts number we're talking about a year, we're actually realizing that we're able to achieve it, but we need to keep it up for, again, about 2 decades. A big part of the new capacity is a growing fleet of ion batteries. At the end of 2020, as the grid had, this is 2020, 3 years ago only, we had about 220 megawatts of batteries on the system. 3 years later, we're now over 7,000 megawatts of batteries on the system. That is more than a 30-fold increase in an impressive California success story. Despite an occasional glitch, the 4-hour batteries have performed well, and we have been able to dispatch this stored energy at the net peak when we need it in the evening and store it when we have the abundance in the middle of the day. This is partly why the ISO, we were able to go into the last summer for the first time in several years, much more confident than we have been having enough available resources to meet the demand during the most challenging months of the year, summer months. I'm happy to report we were correct. A little lucky too, because the weather in California was relatively moderate this past year, and the stage hydro conditions had much improved. Moderate weather and better hydro conditions notwithstanding, the grid has become more resilient, and all the hard work that we and many others have done recently has enhanced reliability. The hard work and good fortune enabled us to get through the summer of 2023 with the lights on and no major service interruptions. Unlike the past summers, we also had no flex alerts in 2023 on the public, asking them to voluntarily be served and ensure that we had sufficient demand. For a variety of other reasons, we did have a few emergency events that we needed to manage, especially in July. Three of these occurred related mainly to do some fast-changing dynamic changes in the desert Southwest. So while we had relatively mild and moderate summer, that was not the case in the Southwest. They had very extensive and long durations of record-level temperatures and lows. That affected the resource availability from our market partners outside of California. And we were becoming more sensitive to those dynamics, learning from them and setting ourselves up to better be able to navigate through such conditions in the future. Overall, the grid managed by the ISO was mostly drama-free last summer, which is good news for all of us. And it was a stark contrast to the past 3 years, where we had almost 29 flex alerts and issued a variety of emergency notifications. As you may recall, we needed to resort to rotating outages for a few hours in August of 2020 to balance the system during an intense regional heat wave. In 2021, we had a call during a heat wave. In addition to the heat wave, we had big wildfires in southern Oregon that limited our ability to import energy from outside the area, from the Northwest to California. And in 2022, we had the record-setting 10-day event heat wave in September, and this is where the governor's office directed the wireless emergency alert that set all our phones on fire. But it worked, and it helped us avoid general service interruption, and it demonstrated that you can get demand response and get people to reduce their demand when needed. This all speaks to the increased premium we put on close collaboration and coordination throughout the region. With finite resources, climate change, and the West's growing interconnectivity, it is important to know that where our neighbors are and whether they have enough supply to cover themselves. To know what demand looks like in the neighboring balancing areas, to know their supply and demand balances and reserve margins. And this all helps us make sure that we know where we are and that where we can go together and make sure that we ensure reliability across the region. Over the past a few years, enhanced reliable coordination as well as closer coordination with our regional operating partners has become a vital resource in and of itself, which is why we've taken a number of important steps to collaborate further and collectively plan and more aggressively communicate with our stakeholders and partners throughout California and the West. It is also why we spent the last 2 years working closely with a wide range of stakeholders in California and neighboring states to establish what we call the extended day-ahead market. Our plan is to build on the success we've had with the existing ISO Western Energy Imbalance Market, which uses sophisticated technology and to find and deliver lowest cost energy to its members in real time. The market also enhances reliability by providing significant environmental benefits through the reduction of renewable energy curtailments by using that energy across the region. Since its launch in 2014, the real-time market has produced over $4.6 billion of benefits to the market participants and its consumers, of which about 1.7 or 40% of the benefits are to California consumers. It now has 22 participants, across 11 western states, and covers about 80% of the demand in the region. By extending these same types of benefits to a much larger day-ahead time frame, independent study after independent study has shown that these benefits can just significantly be expanded through the broad geographical footprint and optimization of resources across that footprint. A few days before Christmas, we received good news that the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, FERC, that had approved the vast majority of our new tariff changes to allow us to enable that extended day-ahead market, and we'll be implementing that in spring of 2026. Two large energy providers, Pacific Fork, which has customers in 6 states, and the balancing area in Northern California, have already committed to joining and participating in that extended day-ahead market. Other entities are now seriously considering doing the same now that we have a FERC-approved tariff. With this operational perspective in mind, let me now pivot to the infrastructure side of the equation. There's a great deal going on in this space as well. There's a lot coming and a lot of exciting innovation. In the California ISO's 2022-2023 transmission plan, the ISO Board of Governors last May approved $7.3 billion and 45 transmission projects of system expansion and upgrades. We're all hearing a lot that the challenges and the need for new transmission. These projects are essential to help support integration of all our new power that will be needed to develop and onboard each year between now and 2045 to meet its California Energy Clean Energy objectives. The plan that I described also took a more proactive approach to better synchronize power and transmission planning, interconnection queuing, and resource procurement. Those all need to work in harmony together to ultimately make sure that the resources are developed, transmission that is needed to move that energy around is working in close coordination. Drafted in close coordination with the California Public Utilities Commission and the California Energy Commission, the plan identifies additional transmission and resource capacity associated with designated geographical zones that make up the most economic and operational sense for such development. To bring this more coordinated approach full circle, the ISO will also give priority to interconnection requests located within those zones because they're being rationally and thoughtfully developed in conjunction with the resource planning. As an addendum to that plan, our board also voted in December to conditionally advance development of a 285-mile link of transmission pathway that would deliver additional energy from Idaho wind to California and the Southwest. And that same link also provides benefits, reliability benefits, to being able to move energy north to south and south to north when needed. So even in this cold snap, it would help us move more energy south and north. Earlier in the year, we had more positive news on the transmission front with the board approval of what's called the innovative subscriber transmission model that will enable construction of a new transmission line that will connect our grid to deliver clean energy from Wyoming to California as well. FERC, in reviewing our application for the new model, has asked for some additional information on that new approach, and we go for approval sometime this year. This new model is significant because it would allow transmission to be built and financed without affecting the ISO transmission access charge. Only subscribers using that line would have to pay for it, and this can help save time and money in getting new transition projects up and running. In addition to our 10-year transmission planning horizon that gets updated every year, we've also started to examine the future transmission needs over a longer period of time, a 20-year time frame. Our first 20-year transmission outlook was published last February and is now being updated. The 20-year outlook examined what projects are needed for longer term, not only to identify those projects of the future, but also help inform the decisions on the infrastructure being made right now. And that having that longer term outlook is really important. It takes about 7 to 10 years to develop good transmission. And if you don't plan ahead and look that further out, you're not going to be able to develop the right type of transmission. We are working hard to proactively and creatively look at also offshore wind energy from out of state and other resources that are make sure that we have the infrastructure in place to move new energy from generation to consumers. With the long lead time intrinsic to such transmission upgrades, the longer term outlook is a real necessity, and this work is also being done in close consultation with our state partners. At the same time, we have been working diligently with stakeholders for the past year or so to make significant improvements to the CAISO's interconnection process. I know some of you are trying to get through that process, so I understand the challenges. For generating capacity wanting to connect to the grid. As California has accelerated its pace for adding new renewable energy to the system, the applications on our interconnection queue have grown exponentially, overwhelming the system and our ability to analyze them to determine which can reach the finish line in a timely manner. We are continuing to work with our stakeholders on those reforms that expect to have a draft final proposal next month. Once we have processed comments from stakeholders after the new proposal is published, we anticipate seeking board approval in May. Delays associated with interconnections are not unique to California. To one degree or another, this challenge is occurring in various parts of the nation. There has been legislation in important FERC order designed to make the planning, siting, financing, and construction process more efficient. These efforts are welcome and helpful, but this is complex and a crucial piece of the puzzle. We've been working diligently with our stakeholders to get it right. This is actually a good problem to have. We have strong competition in the development community and a large amount of resources wanting to connect. We need a process that gives us the time and wherewithal to determine the deliverability and whether a project can actually do what it needs to be accomplished. So as you can tell, we have been busy at the CAISO, but progress is being made across the region. Good things are happening all the time. Resources are being procured. Big work is getting done. Transmission is being built. The interconnection process is being improved. Interconnectivity and coordination with the West are on the rise. Exciting new market opportunities are being advanced. The grid is stronger. We have more resources and tools at our disposal. In this line of work, there is always more to be done and obstacles to overcome. I'm confident if we continue to work collectively on the task at hand, we may experience some bumps in the road, and we will learn and adjust from what we learned. And at the end, we will succeed on a timely basis in building the new, clean, affordable, reliable system that we all want and need. Thanks very much.